Welcome to the Sacred Medicine Podcast. My name is Margaret Romero. I'm a Columbia-trained functional medicine nurse practitioner, and here I uncover the truth behind chronic illness so that you can finally heal. I'm a women's health and hormone expert and love empowering women to finally live their life fully and powerfully through optimal health. This is the Sacred Medicine Podcast. Welcome back to another week of the Sacred Medicine Podcast. All right, so this week, I am going to ruffle some feathers because I'm talking about the medical medium today. And I just have two issues that have always been on my mind about some of his protocols. And if you don't know about the medical medium, he's a man named Anthony Williams. He is known to be obviously a medium who claims from the age of 4 was given a power, or I don't know what you want to call it, but anyway, he has told everyone and has written many books that spirit, quote unquote spirit, has told him what chronic illnesses, what they're caused by. And he has brought up about numerous viruses and things like that. And he talks all about food and nutrients and eating healthy. And he's got a bunch of protocols and recipes. Now, look, I am all for healthy. Absolutely. I'm all about, get rid of all of that junk food, get rid of all of that nastiness. And yeah, eat whole foods. I'm all about it. Okay. But I do have just two issues here, and I'm going to explain. So the first one is about the celery juice. You may or may not know that celery contains a lot of sodium. It contains a lot of salt. Each stalk of celery contains about 35 to 40 milligrams of sodium. Now, my concern is that a lot of times throughout his books, he wants people to be drinking this every morning. And there are many reasons for it. The particular salt that is in the celery helps to replenish cells, and it's, filled with nutrients and all of this stuff. So now look, you want to blend up or juice some celery and you want to drink it. I'd rather have you do that than to be consuming, Ensure in the morning or something really crappy like that. This is the only issue I have with celery juice, is that if you have hypertension, it may affect you. If you have congestive heart failure, drinking excessive amounts of celery juice could definitely raise your blood pressure. And if you're not regularly checking your blood pressure at home with a machine, that is my concern, is that the celery juice, consuming 32 ounces, like 16 to 32 ounces, do you know how many stalks that is? That's a lot of stalks. And if you're consuming, that could be an extra 700 to 1,000 milligrams of sodium per day, just in one drink. And so you're consuming it in the morning, which means you're consuming that much salt in a short amount of time. And if you have heart issues or if you have kidney issues, that is my concern. If you don't, and your blood pressure is great and you feel great and you've been healing, by all means, continue drinking. Okay, so that was number one. I only have two. And my second one is about the bananas. And so there's something called his liver cleanse smoothie, his liver rescue smoothie. And aside from all these other vegetables and fruits that are in there, he opts to have 2 bananas in them. And then there's like a 9-day cleanse, and every morning you're doing this liver rescue smoothie, which has 2 bananas. Now, so 2 things with that. 2 things is that if you have kidney issues, even one single banana is detrimental to your health. If you may or may not know that if you have kidney issues, depending on the severity of the kidney issue, your body is not clearing out potassium the way normal people clears out potassium with normal functioning kidneys. So that means that potassium starts to increase in the body. What happens when you have too much potassium in your body? You can suffer from a cardiac event. We have these potassium channels for our heart. And when there's too much because you're not clearing it out through your kidneys and it starts to rise excessively, and this can easily be checked in the blood. There's a major concern for a cardiac event to happen. So that is where I get concerned, is that people may or may not know they have a kidney issue, or maybe they do, but they don't realize that this, nutritious smoothie, this like liver rescue smoothie, which, you're like putting in 2 bananas, no big deal. And then you're doing that on consecutive days, and the potassium could be every day getting higher and higher. That is my concern, that you have rising levels of potassium can potentially cause a cardiac event. And so, and you sort of, he's writing these books and it's reaching millions of people. And there's no one that's, like a provider that's like, okay, you're going to start this protocol. Let's do blood work now. Let's just make sure potassium levels, sodium levels are fine. And then have you do it for a couple weeks. Let's recheck, make sure your potassium's okay. So if there is any way that you know that you have kidney problems, and because I have heard him say in one of his podcasts, this a couple years ago, he said that, like his protocols reverse like kidney issues. It reverses people from going into kidney transplantation. And so these people are having a very hard time releasing potassium from their body. As that potassium starts to rise, it is critical. People are sent to the emergency room when they get to a certain number on their potassium levels. When it comes back, with the blood work, they are sent to the emergency room. And so this is no joke. They have to take something called lactulose. They have to drink this. It has to come down. They have to have bowel movement. It has to be removed. And because we get very concerned about cardiac event, a massive cardiac event that could potentially happen when your potassium levels rise. And consuming 1 banana, which is it's one of the fruits that contain the highest level of glycemic index, which means that when you consume 1 banana, your sugar spikes so quick. And if this is the first thing that you're consuming in the morning, potassium levels are going up. You're having celery juice, so sodium levels going up. You got the potassium levels going up from the bananas. And it's like, okay, blood pressure is happening. And you may not be aware. You're just like, oh my God, my doctor told me I had kidney problems, and this guy told me that this could help. So you're doing it without possibly knowing what the repercussions may be. And so that's all I'm saying. If you've got healthy kidneys and you have no problems with high blood pressure, and you want to continue doing this and you feel great and your numbers look good, great. But if you don't, and you have like cardiac problems to begin with, or congestive heart failure, you've got hypertension, you've got kidney problems, this is where I get very concerned. So if you're doing this and you have any one of those issues, you need to get your blood work done. You really do. God forbid your potassium levels are like over 5 or higher. I mean, there's certain numbers that it gets to, and we get very alarmed. I used to work in an emergency room, and so potassium levels were a thing. High levels of potassium are not good. You may possibly be admitted into the hospital, most likely. You were going to the emergency room, And we've got millions of people with unknown chronic illnesses. They might not even know. They may not even have a doctor, and they're not feeling good. Or they've stopped urinating, or who knows? And they start doing these protocols without knowing. And so that's where my concern is that I'm concerned about a spike in insulin with the bananas, spike in potassium from the bananas, okay? Celery juice causing an increase in sodium. Sodium causes increase in high blood pressure. It causes fluid retention. You may notice maybe your ankles are swollen. You may notice like you can't wear your rings because your hands are swollen. That is my concern. All right, changing your diet and taking out McDonald's and replacing it with like salad, fine. I'm good with it. But if you haven't seen a doctor and you haven't had blood work and you don't know what the hell's going on, or you have a history of kidney issues, please beware. Get your blood work done. Really important. Potassium, blood pressure. Get your blood pressure checked. Maybe you can only tolerate 6 to 8 ounces. That's okay. Of celery juice. That's okay. Maybe you only want to put 1 banana in there. I know what his protocol says, but I'm saying if you need to modify something, do it. I mean, you don't put your life at risk because of the freaking protocol. Do you know what I'm saying? I swear, this is something that has been on my mind for like 2 years. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to just say this because somebody could be listening to this, not know anything about what's going on with their health, but they know they don't feel well. And they just start doing protocols after protocols and weeks of it and months of it. No, you need to get your blood pressure checked, get a physical, get a doctor, get a physical, get some routine blood work because potassium and sodium are checked routinely. Get that done first and make sure that your kidneys are functioning well in order to secrete all of this potassium that you may be consuming day after day. I mean, there's 2 bananas a day. That's 14 bananas in a week. That's a lot. And if you have diabetes, I don't want your insulin levels to be increasing every morning, to be, spiking. And with all the sugar that's contained in 1 banana, forget putting 2 into that shake. That's all I'm saying. Okay? Get your lab work checked. Know what you're getting into before starting these protocols. Make sure you're okay and that your body can actually handle the amount of celery juice that he is claiming is helping people. By the way, some people may even have food allergies. You don't even know, right? Unless you get food allergy tested. You may be, starting to get sensitive to celery and your body is becoming inflamed because it's actually having a little bit of an allergic reaction is now building. You don't know unless you get tested. That's my point. If you're eating something over and over and over and over and over and over again, day after day, day after day, day after day, the body becomes slightly sensitive to it. You need to learn to rotate your food because the body, if you do celery juice and you're like, I've been doing it for a year, every single day, I feel amazing. Just make sure that you're feeling amazing. Because if you're starting to feel like you're not doing good or you just don't feel that good afterwards, pay attention to that, please. Just pay attention to what your body is telling you. What your body is telling you should be like the very first thing that you're listening to over a book that is meant for every single person and every single body in the whole entire world. No. Sorry. I'm sorry. It's not possible. Not every diet is for every single body. So what I'm saying is be aware to what you're doing and how much you're consuming. I would start very small rather than from one day to another doing 32 ounces of celery juice. Just sounds excessive to me. And if you feel like you're bloated afterwards or just don't feel good or you've got some GI issues or suddenly you can't, your fingers like you can't even wear your rings. We have issues. And so be mindful of that. And don't push your body to do something that it just is feeling overwhelmed with the amount of sugar that the bananas contain, overwhelmed. Yeah, and yes, it's natural sugars. It's not coming from a box, or it's not stevia. It's a natural sugar, but it's still, what it's doing, it is still raising your insulin levels. It's still doing that. So that's it. That's all I want to say about that. It's just a little bit of a warning to just be aware of these things. And if you have any of these health issues, any cardiac issues, kidney issues, diabetes, beware. You want to decrease the amount of bananas you're consuming, the amount of salt you're consuming if you have high blood pressure, and the potassium that you may be taking in, thinking it's so good for you, the bananas, that you're actually putting your body in a critical situation potentially with a cardiac event. So that's all. That's all I want to say. And if you have any questions, or if you've been feeling amazing, send me a message. I'd love to know. But I know that so many people are benefiting from it. Eating healthier, anybody could get better. But I just want you to know about these other concerns that I have, and potassium and sodium, and how it affects, and it is linked to the heart. And that is very real. And that's not something I'm making up. You can check it out yourself. Potassium channels in the heart. And that's it. That's it for this week. Thank you so much for listening. And, hopefully I don't get any major hate from this. I am just pointing out very real medical concerns that I have. That's all. Be well, and wherever you are in the world, I hope you are well and thriving. Much love. I'll talk to you all next week. Bye for now.